Hello there everybody, how's it going? It's Jessie from Jessie Marie Does Stuff here on FlossTube, and I am here with my weekly cross-stitch update. Because it's Monday, and that's what I do on Mondays, right? So, let's see here. I have so much to talk about today. I'm going to try to do it relatively quickly, because there is so much, and while I know you guys like the long ones, I also know that they can get to be too long. And that doesn't do anybody any good. So I'm going to talk about a lot of things, but as quickly and concisely as possible. Today I have, of course, my FlossTuber Shoutout. I also have my whips from last week that I worked on. As a result, I have a finish, which many of you probably know about. I also have my whips for next week, which is going to tie into me sort of attempting to explain my new rotation. It's a little different than it has ever been, but I'm going to try it, just give it a try, because I have, I think, 23 whips now, which is it's quite a bit. So kind of needed to restructure some things and reorganize, and so I've done that, but my rotation it needs explanation. So I'm going to try that. So without further ado, let's get to the FlossTuber Shoutout. Today I am shouting out Cross Stitch Joil, who is Ildy, and she leads the Cross Stitch and Discuss group on Facebook. She's phenomenal. I mean, truly, her ability to run a group of over 5,000 people with from all different walks of life and all different levels of opinions and whatnot, it's just mind-blowing. I couldn't do what she does. She has limitless patience and lots of understanding. She's firm, but I don't know. I admire her and her abilities to lead that many people at once. It's pretty astounding. She posted her update this weekend, and I can't remember what day because my days are all muddling together a little bit. And she talked about how the Facebook groups are having these stitch-alongs, which are great. I mean, I am doing some pretty wonderful things going along with these stitch-alongs, but people who aren't on Facebook are sort of feeling excluded, and so she's trying to come up with a way of cutting down on that and really bringing our community back together. And I think that is huge. That's so, so cool. So that was really why I wanted to shout her out today, is because I just think that that's awesome. I know that the Cross Stitch and Discuss group has come up with a hashtag, and it is hashtag CSAD Group Sals. And I know that Cross Stitch It's Fun they have a tag as well, so you can tag if you want to participate in their stitch-alongs. I have approached the group and asked them if I could do a video very similar to Stitching Maze. She posted a video this morning, maybe late last night, I'm not really sure. Again, days. I don't know what they are. She posted a video recently detailing the minutia of the Cross Stitch and Discuss sales. And so I talked to Cross Stitch It's Fun to see if maybe I could do the same thing, so that we can sort of get the information out about these stitch-alongs that are going on, and if you're not on Facebook or you're not on Instagram, how you can participate too. Now, obviously anybody can stitch anything anytime, and it is what it is. But at least helping spread the information might do some people some good, and it'll help bring our community back together, which I think is good. It's very, very good. So, Ildy, thank you so much for all that you do for our community and for your group, and for showing us your stunning, stunning works in progress. They are all so beautiful. Your stone roses, I know that you are on the outs with that project, but I love it. It's beautiful, and I've got a bulldog head here, just, so you know. He's decided he wants some attention today. So, thank you, Ildy. thank you once again. Sorry for the Thor interruption. It's, my life. So let's get on to, I'm going to do my finish first because it wasn't really a whip for the week. I mean, it worked out to be my whip for the week, but it turned into a finish. So this was actually my second August ABCs project, and I was supposed, and operative word here, supposed to stop working on this as of Saturday, and I did not. I was also only supposed to work on it for an hour before switching to my other project for the day. I also kind of didn't do that either the last couple days. I think that when you get close to a finish, like, you just want to focus on that piece and just get it done. Like, all right, I'm going to get this done now, and everything else, move over. So that's kind of what, oh my goodness, there is hair flying everywhere. This is all kinds of appropriate. So anyway, the project that I finished, the project in question here, is the Frosted Pumpkin Stitcheries Fibery Friends Sampler. And I'm going to show you what it was charted to look like because I made some changes. So this is just the cover page, and you can see down there, there's my name. So this was really for me. I purchased it, and so that's what it's charted to look like. Very cute. I've gone through all of the names of everything and little bits and bobs that I've changed, or the ideas that I had for changes. And here is the finished piece. Oh, I'm so excited. It's so cute. Yeah, I like it. My fabric is not the called for fabric. They called for Chablis, I believe, from Picture This Plus. This is a Color Cascades Studio Session number 121, which is basically one of their one-of-a-kinds. And I mentioned it 1,000 times before, but I purchased this from a Facebook sale a couple years ago. I believe that it is a Joil, although upon further inspection, I'm starting to wonder if maybe it's a Lugana. But regardless of what the fabric type is, it is a paler pink than the called for fabric. And some of the changes you will see are rather obvious. The biggest one being the lettering in the center there. So I'm gonna go through the changes that I made from top to bottom. So you can see my sheep friend there, as well as my Angora rabbit there named Mo, and then his little sheepy buddy next to him, and the tiny sheep right there. So you won't be able to see it. You probably won't be able to see it anyway. But that is stitched with Whisper thread from Rainbow Gallery, and it's number W88, if anybody's curious. And it's just basically a fuzzy thread you stitch with it, and then what I did is I ran my, like a brand new clean, just out of the package toothbrush over those parts, and to help them fluff up a little bit more, so that we get the fuzzy. Oh, and I did that for the cotton as well. So it's going to be difficult to see, but you can sort of see that those stitches are just a little bit fuzzier, if only a little bit. So that's that. Other changes that I've made, one of them accidentally, I didn't realize it was a change that I made. My sheep doesn't have a mouth. I forgot to backstitch his mouth in, so I'll put that in later. But I realized that yesterday at some point. But as far as I'm concerned, this is done. So anyway, and then we get to the center part there. So obviously it was charted with the alphabet stitched in a dark gray. I stitched, using that alphabet, using their charted alphabet, I stitched I Love the Fiber Arts. And I stitched that in Mo's Sale cotton in Thor. And this was from their Avengers line. But obviously my bulldog's name is Thor. And the reason that I chose to do Thor is, or to use that cotton for this one specifically, is because Thor fur is a specialty fiber that oftentimes ends up in my projects. I mean, you saw just a moment ago, it all went floof after I was scratching his head. It's It's an inevitability of my life. His fur ends up in my projects. I could take the time to tweeze them all out. I could, take the effort to sort of take out all of those little fibers, but whatever. He's a part of me. He's a part of my projects. So Thor is one of the fiber arts that I use. Let's see. That center heart there. I'm going to have to take this out. That's why this project is really only 90% finished. Because I'm going to take the heart out, this green one here. And the reason for that is it's a wool blend. It's the Dragonfly Lotus BFL Sparkle blend. So it is a wool fiber created and spun for cross stitch. And it came in my Stitchy box, and it's the limited edition Christmas Dance. So on the skein, and I didn't bring the skein with me, but on the skein it looks pretty sheepy colored with little hints of green and pink to sort of give the idea of Christmas. But obviously stitched up, it's really green. Like, it's really green. I guess the green fibery bits throughout the wool just stand out a lot more once it gets on the fabric. So I think that those colors don't really go together well, and so I'm going to take it out and I'm going to replace it with something else. I know that Weeks Dye Works sells a wool blend fiber that is, it's like a butterscotch color, and so I think that's pretty neutral, so that might look better in that place instead. I really want to use the wool because I think that it's kind of cool to use different blended fibers on a fiber arts related project. Like, I just think that that's kind of cool. I'm amused by that. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to try to find a wool blend that will work. If not, I have some neutral colored silks, which would be cool. That's a different fiber that is often used. So if for whatever reason that one doesn't work, then I'll use silk. Not a problem. So that's that. Let's see, what else did I do differently? I guess that's really all that I did differently. The back stitching on the spinning wheel, as well as on the spinning wheel over here, as well as on the knitting needles above her head there, those are stitched with long stitch because regular back stitch looks a little segmented, and that's not appropriate for like knitting needles. Yeah, so that is my Fibery Friends sampler. Ain't it cute? I love it. So I'm going to frame this in a hoop, which is something that I haven't done before, but it's, it's appropriate for it. So that's what I'm going to do, and then that's going to go in the craft room. Once I fix the things that I need to fix, like giving my sheep a mouth and that heart, I will show it to you again. Probably when it's a fully finished object. So yay. So that is August ABC's project number 2 done in 9 days. I started it on August 7th along with the Crafty Curator and Letitia and Candice, and finished it on Sunday the 16th. The reason it took me so long, I would have finished it on Saturday, but I was actually out of 2 colors. I ran out of ecru and one of the greens. Had to pick those up before I could finish it. So anyway, finished it on Sunday. So then, let's get back to my whips for this past week. And so you will remember that I was participating in the Cross Stitch It's Fun Summer's Last Hurrah Challenge, and that ended yesterday, Sunday the 16th, where I was to work on a different project every single day, and I added in new whips to sort of fill that out. So on Monday, I was to work on my Victoria Sampler Pumpkin Patch Farm Sampler. And I did, because I finally got that thread that I was missing. Did I work on it? Yeah, this is right. Okay. I feel like I showed this to you already. So I'm really hoping that I didn't. I did. But it was last week when I was showing you the whips that I was going to work on, and I recorded on Tuesday. So I'm just going to flash this up real quick. Okay, so this is what I did on Monday. I talked to you about this already. Sorry, y'all, I'm really unprepared. Normally I watch my last video before I start recording, but I'm already late to the recording game today. So yeah. So you can see I got the right colors on the fallen leaves, and I got the naked trees stitched up. So that is my Victoria Sampler Pumpkin Patch Farm sampler. Love this. Looking forward to getting back to this in September for the Stitch Mania specialty stitches sale. Okay. Make sure I don't need this one later, because I might. Nope. Okay. All right. Next, on Tuesday, I worked on my Rose Fairy from Joan Elliott, and my progress on this is, it's not as much as I was hoping for, and the reason for that is when I worked on this the first time, I had not highlighted my pattern at all. Now, I am somebody who highlights my originals, and I know you're all going, oh, Jess, why do you do that? The reason that I do that is if I'm going to stitch something again, I'm going to buy the pattern again, because that's how I like to support designers. If for whatever reason I decide, you know what, I loved Rose Fairy, I know somebody else who wants it, so I'm going to stitch it for them, I'm going to go buy the pattern again. Just like I would buy new fabric, just like I would buy new beads. I mean, you know, it's just how I do things. I have attempted the working copy thing before, and it's just not what I like to do. My scanner on my printer works okay, but sometimes things get fuzzy. So I just prefer to highlight on the glossy version that the, vendor has sent me. So what I had to do before I could start stitching was highlight what I had actually already done before. And that took some time because I had to reorient myself with the pattern and figure out where I was. So the changes you're going to see are minimal. So I did some of the pink in the skirt and some of the purple in the skirt. Really what I focused on was this side over here. So this purple bit here is brand new, as well as this long pink strip here. Some of this in here is new, some of this in here is new. So I did a little bit, but not a lot. No stitches, sorry. So I'm looking forward to getting back to this one. I rediscovered my love for it. Now this is a Lugana. I know that for sure. And the weave on this one is a little bit tighter than that Studio Session 121. So I'm thinking that might be a Joil blend for sure. Sorry, nose. So anyway, that's my Rose Fairy. Okay. Oh, and do you guys want to see what she's supposed to look like in the end? I have like patterns and things to show you. So that's Rose Fairy. And so the purple bit that I added on was just the very far edge of her skirt there. That's Rose Fairy. Okay. I am far more disorganized than I thought I was today. Okay. Next, I worked on my first Teresa Wenzler. And I was terrified. I was like, oh my God, Teresa Wenzler, it's like the pinnacle of stitching. Like, if you can do a Teresa Wenzler, you can do anything kind of a thing. So I was all intimidated. And I'm not really sure why. Because really, it's just stitching. And it's just stitching with blends. You know, she uses the blends. And she uses lots of fractional stitches. And if you're working on linen or even weave, not a big deal. I didn't stitch a whole lot because I can't remember why. It was a Wednesday. I have no idea why. But nonetheless, that's what I accomplished there. So this is half. It's exactly half. So stretch is quite long. And I started working, oh my gosh, my nose, guys, I'm so sorry. Just try to orient this fabric, there we go. So I started working on the gold scroll work in there. Really pretty. So would you believe me if I told you that I've worked with 4 colors already? Shades of gold so far. But nonetheless gorgeous. Really looking forward to it. And you will notice that this is not on the fog linen that I had originally purchased for this project. The reason that I went away with using that fog is that because of the fractional stitches and because I wanted to be able to focus on making sure that I was getting this right, I knew that I couldn't work on a project that required one-handed stitching. And if I was going to use that linen, I would have to put it in a hoop because I don't have a Q-snip small enough, and I would have to do it one-handed because like my frame it just wouldn't work right. So I just decided, I had been talking about it before, that I was going to use the bottom of the fabric here of my Summer Still Life. And so I've got Summer Still Life and Teresa Winsler, which is fine. Making use of the fabric that I have in my stash. And Stretch his appeal is in the design and not the fabric. And so I'm okay with doing it on a very boring, very plain linen. That doesn't bother me. I just wanted to make sure that I did it on a linen and that it was big enough that I could put in one of my bigger frames, either my large Q-snap or my Millenniums. So that worked out nicely. I cannot wait to get back to this one. Okay. Yeah, I need this one later, so I'll put that in that pile there. Okay, let's see. On Thursday, I worked on Opus 2, which is my long dog samplers, which name is actually Maggie. So the progress again on this one, you're not going to see a whole lot either. I really, and Jen, I'm sorry. I promise I'm going to get back to this though. I really only did 1 strand worth of stitching on this. I was tired. I think I had a headache. I mean, you know, I ran into all of the problems in the world stitching on this that day. I don't even think I stitched on my Fibery Friend sampler that day. I didn't have it in me. So I got just a little bit done on this motif down here. And I will pull this back out eventually. Again, boring linen, but that's okay because it's the design that needs to shine. And it does. It totally stands out. The contrast is great. So that's that. Nope. Okay, so on Friday, August the 14th, we had the Flossie's Snack Shack Stitch Along in the Cross Stitch It's Fun group. And I was supposed to work on my Birdie Bots Box of Delights by Liz Almond. This is a blackwork design. I didn't put in a single stitch, you know. And the reason I didn't stitch on this at all is that I actually had to work Friday morning, and then I had a phone interview Friday afternoon, and I was spending some time with Danny. You know, there were reasons. So anyway, this is my box of delights, and I didn't work on it, but I will. I really will. I miss it. I really do miss this piece. Working with the Mo's sale on my Fibery Friends made me really miss this project a whole lot because this is done in a lot of Mo's sale. So I'll get back to this. It went into the I'm going to need this later pile, so you know that I really am planning on working on it. So yeah. All right, Saturday, August 15th, I was supposed to start Normal Family by My Big Toe Designs. This one here. And I did not. My fabric is still in my fabric stash drawer in my office. I haven't pulled it out. I haven't even kitted up the project. And the reason for that is that I had to work on Saturday. And when I got home, I just decided to work on my Fibery Friend sampler for my hour because I didn't do it that morning. So I did that night, and then I was like, you know what, I am so close to a finish, I'm just going to focus on it. And so like I talked about earlier, everything else was just pushed to the side. It was just like, I'm just doing Fibery Friends. And I'll get back to Normal Family later because this is my next August ABCs project. So I'm totally okay with not having started this yet. It's going to be so quick because, you know, I mean, there's not a whole lot of stitching. It's really just making sure I get everything stitched correctly because it uses the crescent colors. So this will be used later. All right. So then on Sunday, on Sunday we went up north to go to my brother's birthday brunch, and we went to a really, really cool restaurant in Arlington, and it was yummy, and got to see my parents and my brother, and we hung out, celebrated him. It was cool. But driving up to Northern Virginia cut out on my Sunday stitchy time, which is fine. You know, I'm totally cool with it. So I know that my mom and my brother watch my channel now. So first of all, hi. And secondly, like, you know, it was a blast. I'm really, really glad that we did that yesterday. So anyway, so got home and finished my Fibery Friend sampler. And then I was supposed to start my Paula Vaughn from the Quilt of the Month book. Or Quilts for All Seasons book is actually the name of it. And so I posted on Cross Stitch It's Fun that I was all kitted up and ready to go, which took forever, by the way, because there are a ton of colors. And with the way that I do my projects, it took a long time to get all organized and ready to go. So I put in my first stitches on my quilt around 9 o'clock. No, 9:30. It was after Big Brother. I finished kitting up during Big Brother, and then I started stitching at about 9:30. And I know that everybody's wondering which one was chosen. So I'm going to show my project and see if you guys can guess. Can you guess? Can you guess? August. This is the August quilt, and what you see there is the beginnings of the shutter at the very top of the design. And so I'll show you the image of the design here in a second, but I just wanted to show this to you. Also this, this is my only haul, this video. These are the 2 needle minders that I got from the from Gina's Unique Needle Minders sale from a few weeks ago. This was from her huge Halloween sale, and so I managed to grab these 2 because they're maroon and orange, and I needed some fall maroon and orange needle minders, so that's what I've got there. But that's the only haul that I have this week, so that's that. All right, so I'm just gonna set that there, and let's see. Oh, this one's on the cover, actually. So this is the August quilt. And so there's lots of poppies, which is the flower for August. And so you see the big green shutter there. That is where I'm at. And I can tell you right now that I'm going to stitch every single thing in this book. Yes, they're complex. There's lots of colors. There's lots of quarter stitches. There's a ton. Ooh, sorry, that was louder than I meant it to be. A ton of back stitching to be done. But it's just I'm loving it. I can already tell. I'm gonna love doing these. I love the play with colors. The pattern leaves a little something to be desired because it uses the same thing that the Joan Elliott pattern that I was talking to you about last time, about how some of the blocks, like, there's no actual symbol, it's just a color, and so you have to differentiate between medium blue and dark blue, you know, etc. This one uses symbols, but like orange and blue and green and purple use the same symbol. It's just that the color in the background of that symbol changes. So that's kind of annoying. It especially makes my kitting up process a little bit difficult because I can't, like, for instance, I know that one of those greens uses the square, and then it's like the polka dots that are all the way through it. You've seen that symbol before, I'm sure. With the way that I do my kits, I can't draw a box with those little dots to indicate the symbol that I need, because there's an orange and a blue and a red that uses that same symbol. So, because I use just a black permanent marker for my kits, and I'm not going to spend the time to color the symbols, because that's not what I'm here for. So anyway, so I have to stitch with my book handy, because I need to be able to reference the color list, which fortunately with this book they repeat, or the color list is not like a general color list for the entire book. It's each quilt has its own color list right there next to it. So it's not like a huge pain. Like, I don't have to flip back and forth. It's all on one page, one big spread. So not a big deal. And like I said, I'm going to stitch everything in this book, and so obviously it's not that big of a deal, because love it. Love it. And August won out. I don't know can't remember what the final vote count was, but it was a wide margin. Like, everybody was like, oh, it's August, you should pick August. And I'm like, okay, thanks guys for choosing for me. You did good. You picked a pattern out of this book, so, you win. So yeah. So loving that already. That is stitched on the linen that I have packages and packages of in my stash. It's a 32 count cream linen from Witchelt, I do believe. So yeah. So those are all of my whips from last week. How cool. So I'm going to take a quick drink of water. Oh yeah, this is in my Starbucks, my great big mug. And the reason for that is that it was in a bottle, but I use the water bottles that are 25% less plastic, and they make a whole lot of noise. So switch to a mug. So that's that. All right. So that concludes summer's last hurrah. And I talked about it last week, but I was sort of curious to know like what I was going to do for my whips from here on out, like, because I liked having this schedule of when I was going to do things. The Katie method is phenomenal. Like, she should publish it, because it's really good. At least it worked for me really well. I got a big finish out of it. I made progress on most of my whips. I obviously didn't work on any of my Haids, and a couple I didn't work on at all. But other than that, the Katie method is phenomenal. Katie the Stash Queen, if, just for clarification's sake. But what I did run into were projects that I didn't want to work on as much as others. There are some projects that I want to focus on. I have projects that are higher priority than others, and I have projects that are closer to being done than others. And, so changing my whip every single day would probably be effective, but I want to give those projects that I'm absolutely in love with some more attention. And I want to get those projects that are close to being done enough attention so they get done this year. I'd like to take no more than 20 whips into next year. And considering I have a few more starts planned already for this year, it's going to take some organizing. Okay, so what I did was I took all of my whips, and I'm a spreadsheet girl. I really like spreadsheets. I have a Mac computer, and numbers makes me so happy, which is their equivalent of Excel. So anyway, I took all of my whips and I listed them out on this spreadsheet along with the designer, and then I gave them all a category. And so I have 4 categories. I have fantasy, so we're talking mermaids, dragons, fairies, basically just like fantastical things. So let's see, a good example of fantasy would be my Teresa Wensler Stretch. It's a dragon, that's fantasy, so fantasy. I also have the flora and fauna category, which is animals and plants. So we're talking garden, we're talking animals that are actually existing in real life. So a good example would be my Jane Netley Mayhew elephants. Those are animals, fauna, flora and fauna category. My third category is people, so humans. And I categorized, like, for instance, my bathroom humor from Joan Elliott, the Your Aim. It's a person. I also included Persephone, because while mythology can be related to fantasy, I also think that Persephone is human. So, like, if the myths are true, then she's human. If they're not, then they're fantasy. I categorized her with people. And then my last category are words or samplers. And so this is basically my miscellaneous category. Like, if it doesn't fit either of those three, then it goes into this category. And so we're talking my normal family by My Big Toe Designs. We're talking, let's see, my Not Quite White Work sampler stitch along from Northern Expressions Needlework. That is a stitch along, or a sampler rather, so that goes under that category. And so originally my plan was to do fantasy 1 week, flora and fauna the second week, people the third week, word sampler the fourth week of a month. And then I would pick a different project for each of those weeks. But what I found was that I have projects that I really want to work on, and I have projects that I want to work on, and I have projects that I'm not so excited to work on. And I didn't want to forget the projects that I don't want to work on. I would like to still make some progress on those, but I didn't want to give them a whole week. And so I was struggling with how I was going to organize this. So then I went back and I categorized them by priority. And so that's what you see here. And so I have low priority, mid priority, and high priority. The high priority are the ones that I love, that I want to work on so bad. They are also ones that I'm not entirely sure I'll get done this year. Even if I worked on them, the high priority ones exclusively, I still don't know that I would get them done because they're big. My mid priority projects are those that I want to work on, or they're projects that are going to get done quickly. So, like, a mid priority would be my normal family from My Big Toe Designs, because it's so quick. It's not going to take me any time at all to work on that. Mid priority would be Rose Fairy, because I'd like to work on her. Probably not going to finish her this year if I'm being honest with myself, but nonetheless, she's something that I want to work on. And then, just for curiosity's sake, I added a column here for completion estimate, which is basically how far I am on the project as of today. And I knew that I was going to get caught up in, well, what do I consider a percentage? So I did 25%, 50%, 75%. Obviously, 0 is I haven't started it yet, and 100 is it's all the way done. And so just for curiosity's sake, I just wanted to see sort of where my projects are in completion, to see if maybe I was going to organize my rotation based on how close they were to being done. And what I found was that, with the exception of 5 projects, all of my projects are roughly 25%, and it's 25% or less, give or take, depending on definition of completion, you know. So, yeah. I knew that organizing by completion percentage, that wasn't going to really work. So I went back to the 2015 priority, and I've organized my rotation based on that. So this last column here is if the project has a deadline. So if it's a gift or if it's for a challenge that has a specific end date, that gets a check mark, and then when the deadline is on my little sheet here. And so I have one that has a deadline, and that is my Summer Still Life by Perman. And this is for the Cross Stitch and Discuss Freezing into a Puddle Challenge. And the end date, I need to have it finished by the 22nd of September. So that is a deadline project. So how did I organize this? I'm just going to show you my August calendar. This is just the rest of August. And this is a good one to show you because it exemplifies everything that I want to work on for the last 14-ish days of August. So I have the other thing that I did. Okay. The next thing, the final step before putting together my calendar was that I sorted them alphabetically by project title, because that is sort of my homage to the Katie method. And so I'm going to work on them in order alphabetically, but with a couple of noticeable differences. This morning, I got up and I started stitching on my quilt because I just knew that I wanted to put some more work into that. With summer's last hurrah over, I've pretty much had doors wide open. I could work on whatever I wanted. I wanted to work on that, so that's what I did. So I decided to start this new rotation with that. That is the second project on this list here. It is also a mid-level priority project. So what you see here, today I have Paula Vaughn's August quilt, and I also have tomorrow Paula Vaughn's August quilt. So my mid-level projects are getting 2 days. My low-level projects are getting 1 day, and my high-level projects are getting 3 days. Okay? Stay with me, because it gets a little bit dizzy a little bit later, I promise. I'm going to try to explain it, and if it doesn't make any sense, if you want to follow the same thing, ask me, and I can clarify some things. Otherwise, just take my word for it. It works for me, I think. I mean, this is day 1. But anyway, so first we have my August quilt, 17th and 18th. Then on the 19th, I have Bathroom Humor, which is also a mid-level priority. So there's 2 days for that. On the 21st, I have Be Thankful by Imagining. That's low level, so it gets 1 day. The same is true for Liz Almond's Box of Delights. Now Sunday, I've talked about this before, but Sundays are my stitchy day. Basically, what happens is we get up, Danny and I, we have breakfast, we spend a little bit of time together, and then the rest of the day is mine to stitch. Danny typically watches the NASCAR race. I stitch the day away. We have our shows in the evening that we get together to watch. We usually have lunch together, and of course we have dinner together, but other than that, the day is mine, which means I get a lot of stitching time if I put the time into it. And so I decided to make Sundays my deadline days. So if I have a project that has a deadline, I'm going to use that Sunday that I have so much time to work on those deadline projects to make sure that I get them done in time for the deadline. If I ever have more than one deadline project, I'm going to have to reorganize this a little bit. Maybe I'll work on 2 projects. I don't know, we'll have to see. But the ultimate plan is that Sundays are deadline days. So my only project that is a deadline right now is my Summer Still Life by Perman. And so you can see that there twice because those are the Sundays. So that's what my week is going to look like. So we have my August quilt, which you just saw. We have Bathroom Humor by Joan Elliott. Should I upside down? Yep, upside down. This is where I'm at with that. So when I show this to you, I will have 2 days worth of progress on it. Let's see. Next, I have Be Thankful by Imaginating. That's where I'm at with that. This is going to have 1 day of progress. And then I have Liz Almond's Box of Delights again for a 1 day progress. This is going to be interesting because this coming weekend we're going down to Blacksburg to meet with some wedding vendors, photographer, venues, potentially. So we'll see how much I get done on Saturday. I don't expect a whole lot, to be honest. But, you know, we'll see what happens. It's okay. And then on Sunday, we'll be back and I'll work on my summer still life for my deadline project. So yeah, so those are the whips that I have planned. So you will have noticed that on my calendar here, I have these big blue blocks here, the Stitch Mania August ABCs, and this top one here says Normal Family from My Big Toe Designs, and the second one here says Be Thankful. So from Monday to Sunday here, including today, which I haven't started it yet, but I will here in a bit, I'll be working on Normal Family by My Big Toe Designs. And I'm keeping with the Katie method on this. For the working on your Mania Sal piece for an hour before switching to the project of the day. I really, really like that. I mean, obviously it worked out beautifully for my Fibery Friend sampler. I got that thing done. And I just set my timer, and then when my timer goes off, I switch projects. Great. It works out really nicely when I have like an hour-long cross-stitch video, and then I don't even need to set a timer. I just say, okay, so I'm going to sit here and hang out with Carolyn Mazgao for an hour, and then I'll switch projects. It's great. So that is my Stitch Mania August ABCs project for this week. So, does that make sense? I bet it doesn't. It's complicated. There's, you know, I mean, it makes sense for me. It's alphabetical, and I give the number of days to the project that I want to. It just makes sense to me. Can you hear the bulldog snoring? He's always snoring. So anyway, thank you guys so much for sticking with me through this video. I'm sorry for the strange cuts. My nose is itching, probably from the Thor hair fluffing up in the air. I hope that I made some sense and that you enjoyed watching. I will see you guys next week.